Santa Paula on October 5th. Nope, November 5th. Excuse me. I'm election year. What can I say? Uh, November 5th, a Thursday, and our guest today is also exhausted, I'm sure,
Yep.
is Dan Singer, our city manager, our Santa Paula city manager. And Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course.
Great. So, what do you want to talk? Should we let's do something that nobody else is doing. Let's talk about elections.
Yeah, right. That's right. Something nobody is talking about.
Yeah, well, it was really an interesting election out here in Santa Paula, especially results-wise, and the speed that we received the results. Would you talk about that some?
Traditionally, because like for the community of Santa Paula, there's some 13 precincts. So polls close at 8 o'clock, and then the county has to come and wrap up each of the boxes associated with those 13 precincts, and they compile them, and then they get driven down to the county. And, it takes a while. And then as they're counting them, they're posting the slow results. And usually you're up till 10, 11, 12 at night before you even know with certainty the results, or sometimes have to wake up the next morning.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this was, well, in some ways it kind of felt a little anticlimactic. It was like 8:15 and boom.
Yes.
We had the results.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
So,
and it's up to 95% of the vote as far as like for the city council race specifically.
it is, and I don't expect it'll change in the next day or two. We have two clear winners, and it was a well-run campaign by all four of our candidates who all genuinely care about this community and being of service. And it was really comforting to see that. They've all been complimentary to each other, and it's nice to see them focus on what ideas they have for the community. Ultimately, Leslie Cornejo was the #1 vote getter and will be a newcomer to the city council. And then Andy Sobel was the second highest vote getter, and he's been on the council as an appointed position the last 2 years. So he has now won his first term in office, and it's nice to have that kind of that smooth transition because Andy's already been doing the job, knows the city, and has gotten to know the community all the better.
Now, do you have any sense of what the voter turnout was in Santa Paula yet for the city council race?
I know that it was expected to be very high. I haven't seen a final number, although I think the expectation for the count for the council race came in about what was expected. So I don't have a final number on that.
Yeah, absolutely. You should ask your maybe your city clerk or assistant city clerk to find that information out. It'd be interesting. Now, so we didn't have any problems that you heard at any of the polls, or there were no complaints. I mean, that's the county's responsibility, but you always hear everything. So
it went quite smoothly. Leading up to the evening of election night, there were cars streaming in front of City Hall on Monday and Tuesday, dropping off ballots. I think a lot of people felt more comfortable doing that than sticking it in the mail that late. And that seemed to work very successfully. And, to your question about results, we will get all of those as part of the certified elections. Should be later this month. And then our council will meet the first meeting in December. That'll be Wednesday, December 2nd. And that's when we will seat Ms. Cornejos and Council Member Sobel. And then, of course, we'll give a word of thanks to Glenn Garmin. Even though he hasn't been here the last 2 months, there'll be an opportunity to recognize his almost 4 years of service.
Now, you had said the other night in another conversation we had in another interview that you feel that a lot of this vote by mail and excuse me, Bob and I earlier were speaking. I said, I think they should start calling it remote ballots, period. And that means that, everything is a remote ballot unless you actually go to the poll with your remote ballot, and because you can mail them, you could, as you were talking about, you can drop them off in ballot boxes, which were very popular, take them to a polling place. There was just all sorts of different ways to hand it in. And you said something about you would not be surprised if this doesn't become something that could be permanent.
Yeah. I think so. And I think the amount of money and time and effort that goes into having so many precincts, almost 400 throughout just this county,
Yes.
is a huge undertaking. So I think the county and the state are very much going to favor doing this by mail. And with the permanent ballot boxes in key locations, it allows you to start, once you get it in the mail, you can spend time with your ballot, make your decisions, and just conveniently drop it off or stick it in the U.S. Postal mail.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, I know that Santa Paula had a service for people that were perhaps harder for them to get out and do anything with their ballot. How did that go? I know you were going to be explain the program to our.
Yeah, we thought it was important to help people who might be, stuck at home, either because of COVID or because of mobility issues, maybe because they don't have a vehicle or have disabilities, etc. So we offered to have our staff go and pick up ballots. We set certain times, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the afternoons, and started doing that a couple of weeks ago. Didn't have a lot of takers, but I'm sure the dozen or so that took advantage of it are highly appreciative that we did. And it was important to us to make sure those people got their votes cast.
Yes, and they'll also tell their friends about it. And then next time, if you do it again, which I hope the city does, then you'll have even more people that'll take advantage.
Absolutely.
That's the good.
It's what a small town should be about.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, speaking of holidays, we've got holidays coming up. What are we going to do? I know we had a fantastic Halloween drive-through.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, we just posted a video of that event. Check out our social media outlets or our Parks and Rec page if you want to look at that minute-and-a-half video. Really neat to see all these civic organizations and various churches and nonprofits come and help participate in that event. It was very well attended, about 400 cars. And many of the cars had 3, 4 or more people in them. Got to go through this Halloween festivities. We're thinking about similar things for Christmas, since we won't have a holiday parade and we won't be able to have, children coming in and sitting on Santa's lap in the traditional way. Plus, it wouldn't be very fun putting a face mask over Santa.
No, not at all. If you couldn't even find one that would fit.
Yeah, exactly. So those announcements will be made sometime soon. We're pleased to see that there wasn't too much activity during Halloween, because the concern, of course, is the spread of COVID. But there's other holidays coming up, and especially Thanksgiving, when families and friends and neighbors tend to gather. The county is now suggesting that as people look to gather, especially if it's with people that aren't from their household, that they consider getting a COVID test, 2, 3, 4 days before, just to be on the safe side. And we have numerous free testing sites throughout the county. Here in Santa Paula, that's just off of Main Street, next to the California Oil Museum, just east of 10th Street. So think about participating in that way, about being cautious, but still getting to enjoy, Turkey Day and the festivities.
Yes, because unfortunately now with COVID, it's now starting to bump up into maybe flu season. So people really have to get their flu shots. I mean, that's very important. More so, I think, this year than ever. It doesn't protect you against COVID, but it does help you. I know I'm a flu shot devotee, as it were, and I've noticed over the years I have less colds. Even if I do get a little bit of the flu, I haven't had anything serious, and it's just really smart not to do whatever you can to keep yourself in tip-top shape.
That's right, and we've seen an uptick in the COVID cases. It's mostly happening in LA and other parts of the country. Thankfully, Ventura County has been fairly stable, but whereas a few weeks ago we were hoping we might get close to that orange tier and get to see a further relaxing of restrictions, now that's not so likely in the next few weeks. I wouldn't say we're going backwards, because we're not. We're doing quite well, but the message I would send out there is, keep doing what you're doing, community, because it's been working here in this county.
Yes, absolutely. Very wise words. Now, Veterans Day, what's planned for Veterans Day?
Yeah, before we get to Thanksgiving, we have a Veterans Day holiday next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
November 11th. Santa Paula has been home to a wonderful Veterans Day celebration, except that this year, of course, it's been canceled. We'll be putting flags up. I think the Rotary Club and Veterans Group is going to be doing that for the day itself.
At Veterans Memorial Park, correct?
Pardon me?
At Veterans Memorial Park.
Correct. But other than that, there won't be any real celebrations. However, our city council last night adopted a proclamation supporting our veterans and really supporting the transition of veterans to getting their degrees and getting integrated back into the work environment. And so Mayor Riza presented that, and a couple of local veterans received it. So
that's
it's a nice gesture, and it designates November as kind of Veterans Month.
Yes. Oh, that's wonderful. Yes. And I think the Rotary Club is also designated it as Veterans Month, and the Mighty Santa Paula Times. We're going to have our issue for Wednesday is going to be very heavy on saluting our veterans, and with a lot of material and also a lot of photos of veterans from all the different wars and where they served. So we're excited about that.
Right.
I've got a real soft spot for veterans. I think they're just, God bless them. You know what I mean?
Thank you for doing that and for your leadership in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see, council last night, you had a resolution that I know that people have been talking about, and that was basically, why don't you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. This is a resolution that was given to the council. It's one that has been circulated to other communities, and notably Camarillo and Ventura in our county have adopted similar resolutions. And it's essentially calling on the council and the community to declare racism as a systemic issue, and calling on them to kind of end systemic racism, to address police brutality, to find ways to lessen the gap that we find between minority communities. And so the council considered the resolution. They actually, 2 council members had done a kind of a more Santa Paula centric version, and council looked at that and considered it, and there were public comments about whether it was sufficient or not. And ultimately the council, they didn't really table the resolution, they didn't adopt it, but what they did do is they said, look, we're a month away from having a 5th council member. Let's allow, once that person gets seated, the opportunity to revisit this. And let's consider establishing a subcommittee of the council, which would be made up of 2 people, to work with staff on maybe crafting a resolution that the whole council could feel supportive of, as well as addressing other issues around public safety and our community. And, health and human services as well.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. I'll have to, I was on deadline last night. I have not watched the meeting, but we did a pre-story on that, and I'm going to follow up on that issue. Now,
popcorn, it's a long discussion.
Yeah, oh boy, I bet. Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, it is. It's an important discussion. It is a long discussion.
If you would allow me a second, because the thing that was so encouraging about the council's dialogue on this is there's obviously very disparate views on the wording and the intent of things like this, and it's a very politically charged matter given the Black Lives Matter movement and what's happened across the country. And I was so pleased to see the respect that our council members had for the different viewpoints. They worked well to try and move this forward without in any way discrediting the opinions and beliefs that people hold. And so I just kind of thought to myself at the end of the discussion, even though it was, a bit long and tedious because they were searching for a solution, that it was a great civic lesson in, respectful dialogue and discourse. And it's something that our nation could certainly use a little dose of. So right here in Santa Paula, it's happening the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. yes. They now homeless shelter and Spirit of Santa Paula in this city. I think there's a partnership. I know there's been a partnership for quite a while, but now it's maybe morphing into something else. So let's get an update on that.
Yeah, so the shelter's been very successful. They've been full and having to, of course, cope with all the COVID regulations and do business a little differently. As we head into the winter months, it's even more important that they really have an opportunity to serve our community. And one of the limitations that they've had is just the space that they have is not sufficient. They don't have a lot of private offices and an intake area. There's no showers inside. There's not the space they need, especially for ADA restrooms. And so they have a plan to expand, but with all the costs of new construction and permitting, it's going to be close to $500,000.
Yeah.
And so they've been in conversations with the city and the county about trying to bring in some money. And I'm pleased to be bringing an item to the council in 2 weeks on the 18th of November to give them a chance to support a donation to the shelter that will be matched probably 10-1 by the county.
Oh, wonderful.
So we would put in $50,000 and the county would put in, $450,000 to $500,000.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So I think that that's very likely to happen and get support, and just a nice way for us to further take care of our community.
Yes, absolutely. And with winter coming, especially, and Spirit of Santa Paula, it's Harvard Place. It's really, they've done a wonderful job with Harvard Place. I'm a big supporter. Now, speaking of public safety, you're expecting perhaps an announcement this month for the police chief, new police chief?
I am, and hoping that'll be, sometime this month. It's taken a while, partly because, these are really important positions and decisions, and the background check that you do for police chiefs is a lot more expensive than it might be just for a job reference for any other job. So we're in the process of conducting some of that, and then possibly some follow-up interviews that I'll have, and hopefully, I don't know if it'll be before Thanksgiving, but hopefully right around that time we'll be in a position to make an announcement. And then I would hope we'll do some type of meet and greet or open house with the new chief. Obviously COVID makes that a little challenging.
Yes, very much so. Well, you've got KADY-TV and Good Morning Santa Paula too.
Absolutely.
As a way to maybe introduce him. Bob had suggested that perhaps you should have a news conference and introduce him.
Yeah, it's a very good idea.
Exclusive though, has to be exclusive.
We'll make sure you get an invitation.
Okay, only the best. It's exclusive. Yeah. Anything I didn't ask you, Dan? Anything on your mind today, or anything coming up with the city that everybody should be informed about?
We are going to be starting next week. Well, I say we, but Edison is going to be in town. They're going to start converting all of our street lights throughout the entire city, except for the Main Street, 10th Street area, because we did those already. And so those are going to be moving to LED lamps. We'll be saving money on our electricity, and it'll be a brighter and cleaner light. It'll actually cast less light into the sky, so it'll be better for viewing stars, but also better for walking on the sidewalk and seeing our streets. So we're excited about that, and they'll be done. They're starting, I think, on the 9th, and they'll be done by before Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that'll be nice, and it'll be uniform too, because I know some of the lights are a little different. It's just enough to be a little distracting. I'm curious. What can I say? Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I appreciate you coming on. Any last words?
No, other than that, I just, was appreciative that the town stayed quiet through elections, and we had no incidents or issues here, and like to keep it that way.
Absolutely. I can only agree. And it shall. It's almost over. It's almost over. Okay, well, listen, that was Dan Singer. Thank you so very much, Dan. It's always great to have you on Good Morning Santa Paula. Once again, I'm Peggy Kelly. If you would like to watch this, it's on kadytv.net plus on the city's the government channel, Spectrum Channel 10, I believe it is, and they run it on a regular basis. And once again, I want to thank Dan Singer. Thank you so much, Santa Paula City Manager, for keeping us up to date. And everybody out there, have a great weekend. Keep your hands washed and wear your mask, social distance. Remember, it's only a few until it's you. So take care and thank you so much. Bye-bye, Dan.
Take care.